AITA for treating my coworker differently after she accused me of SA when I saved her life. I'm a quiet guy and genuinely friendly. I treats all my coworkers as friends. About 2 months ago, during a work lunch, one of my coworkers started choking, so I did the Heimlich thing to help her. After she's in the clear, the others cheered. I asked if she all right. She just nodded and head to the bathroom without a word, so I didn't think much about that. Until 2 days later I got called into HR for my inappropriate behavior. I was confused and asked for more details. That's when they told me that my coworker had filed a complaint stating that she felt my touches when I was helping her was inappropriate. My body was too close and she felt my private touching her. I gave my statement and they put me on ice. I was still working with potential to be removed, while they investigate further. After a week I was in the clear. I returned to working normally without fear, but I started distancing myself from the coworker. She tried to apologize, which I accepted, and tried to explain that she has to tell me that she has trauma, but I still take precautions and only treat her as just colleague. I'm no longer talk to her unless needed to. Always keeping distance. No longer inviting her out unless there are others. She could feel my hesitant toward her and how no longer treat her the same as others. She tried to say that I'm being ridiculous and petty, but I told her that I'm just looking after myself. So am I the P's. Sorry about my English if there are errors, it's my third language. Edit. Wow. This blew up. I'm not very active here, but I have read several comments and DMs. Sorry I can't read all. Thanks for everyone's support. I won't make updates, but I have some clarifications. I'm not from or at any English-speaking countries. Me and the coworker did have a talk, with our colleagues nearby, and she agreed to just limited to necessary contacts that related to works. I won't sue her cause everything is resolved, and to be honest it would just be bring more problems while wasting money. I also received several DMs about people with similar experiences as me, which made me sad and relief that I'm not the only one. And I also saw comments about how I'm not considering and don't understand her trauma, which is fair. If you're harassed for real then you should protect yourself. But I just hope she came to me about her uncomfortableness since we've known each other for a couple years.
AITA for making my daughter leave because my husband is attracted to her. I, 55F, have been married to my husband and my daughter's stepdad, 63M, for 4 years. My 23-year-old daughter and I have a complicated relationship. She has been diagnosed with dissociative identity disorder. She has a lot of trauma from watching me and my husband's horrible marriage go down and was bullied in school. When she told me she was being bullied by peers, my view that all children are innocents really tied my hands because I told her that if I said anything to them, I would be an adult harassing a child. She has blamed me for that ever since, and keeps referring to this one time where the kids at school called her trash due to the fact that she wasn't taking care of her hygiene due to depression. Part, not all, of my response was telling her to take a shower and I bought her new clothes. The bullying finally ended with an expulsion and a suspension for the ringleaders. She still throws the fact that a school clinic volunteer told her that if she was their kid, she'd have permission to punch back if administrators didn't do anything. I thought that having her live with me while she finishes school and gets a job would help heal some childhood wounds if my second husband and I modeled a healthy relationship. However, my daughter now doesn't get along with my husband. She is a very introverted, creative person who likes immersing herself in escapism. So she'd get annoyed if she was sitting eating alone and my husband would sit across from her and eat, saying she ate later so she could eat alone. However, my husband started acting distant from me, and my daughter complained that his eyes lingered for too long. She got very angry and there was a lot of shouting and slamming of doors. Finally, my husband admitted he's attracted to her and it's hard to be around her all day. Said she was walking temptation and said that's why he was avoiding sex with me. I was so upset to hear this. I don't blame my daughter for this, but at the same time the situation has become unbearable. Something would have to give, and I couldn't collect my thoughts with both of them still being in the house. So I gave my daughter money to stay at an extended stay hotel, and asked her to utilize her college's emergency financial and housing resources they have for students in need. She responded by storming out and telling my ex, who is now circling social media using it to paint me as the villain of all villains. I'm not abandoning my daughter. She qualifies for those resources anyway since my ex is unemployed and we are in substantial debt. I just need time to process the situation and don't want to leave my house to stay with my daughter when I have a marriage to figure out whether or not to save. AITA? AITA for telling a woman her baby is not a miracle? 15F here. My baby half-brother was born a few months ago. My stepmother has baby fever right now and is arranging mommy and baby events at the house when she keeps inviting other moms and babies around. I don't care. They can do it as long as they don't bother me. She usually wants me to help with prep and clean up, which I don't like doing as it's not my problem and they're not my guests. Anyway, this last weekend there were this woman and a baby, and she was going around showing the baby to everyone and asking them, is she not a miracle? And honestly, it was obnoxious. But I wasn't rude and didn't say anything until I was getting out to see my friends and she stopped me and asked, is she not a miracle, and offered me the chance to hold the baby. I asked, you want an honest answer that? And she said yes. So I said no. Tens of thousands of them are made every day. It's the furthest thing from a miracle. She was annoyed and said I was short-sighted and rude. I didn't say anything and left. Later that night, my stepmother and dad told me I was rude to their guest, and I should have reassured her that her child is special because she is special to her. I honestly don't care. But they want me to call her to apologize, and I don't see why I should. She was the one who stopped me and asked me a question, and I offered to bow out, but she wanted an honest answer, so I gave it. AITA? AITA for refusing to pay for my niece's college after she publicly humiliated me? Advice needed. I, 45F, am child-free by choice, but have always been close to my brother, 47M, and his daughter, Emily, 18F. Over the years, I've saved up a decent amount of money, and I offered to help pay for Emily's college when the time came. She's a smart kid, and I wanted to give her opportunities I never had growing up. Everything was fine until last month. I was invited to Emily's high school graduation party, which was a big deal in our family. During the party, Emily gave a speech thanking everyone for their support. She thanked her parents, her grandparents, even her friends. Then she paused, looked at me, and said, and a big thanks to Aunt, me, for not having kids so she could spoil me like I'm hers. Must be nice having all that extra money and no responsibilities. The entire room laughed, and I froze. I could feel everyone looking at me, and all I could do was smile awkwardly. I've heard jokes about being child-free before, but this felt cruel and unnecessary, especially since I've sacrificed a lot to save for her future. My brother and sister-in-law laughed too, which hurt even more. After the party, I confronted Emily privately. She rolled her eyes and said it was just a joke, and I needed to lighten up. My brother brushed it off, saying, teenagers can be dumb, don't take it personally. I've spent weeks thinking about this, and I've decided to withdraw my offer to pay for her college. I feel like she doesn't respect me or the effort I've made to support her. When I told my brother, he blew up at me, calling me selfish and accusing me of punishing Emily for one harmless joke. Emily hasn't apologized, and now I'm questioning if I'm being too harsh.
AITA for not ordering any food so I wouldn't have to split the bill? I, 27M, have been a part of a small friend group, around 8 people total, basically since college. For some background, 2 people from the group, Susan and Greg, are just absolute leeches. Going out for lunch? Expect them to order the most expensive on the menu, then feed you some sob story about their finances and then dumb half the bill on you. Last weekend, Dan, one of the people from the group, told me about a casual dinner. I told him how if Susan or Greg were there I wouldn't be able to come. He tells me that they would be there but I should just put my opinions aside and come just once. This is kind of where I might be in awe. I agreed with him and told him I would be there. I show up and we all get to talking. Everyone began putting in their orders. Most of them spent about $40. There were only about 6 people there. When it gets to Susan and Greg, they both order expensive dishes, around $200. When it was my turn to order, everyone looked at me, but I just pick up the menu and point to the $4 Miller Lite and sent the waiter away. Dan asked why I hadn't ordered anything and all I said was that I lost my appetite. The other 2 friends got up as well to cancel their orders and just have drinks. After the main courses came out, I saw Susan and Greg picking at their food. The waiter then brings over the check. Greg then grabs the waiter and asks him to split the check 6 ways. I stand up and correct him saying the check was to be split 3 ways. Greg looks at me confused and asks why since we always split the bill. I reminded him that 3 of us had not eaten any food so we would just be paying for our drinks. So basically at the end of the night, Dan, who probably only ate around $50 worth of food, was stuck with a $146.98 check at the end. Yes, I remember the exact number. I swear I saw his jaw drop when he picked that receipt up. I slid a $10 towards the check, said goodbye everyone, and walked out. The next morning, I found my phone full of texts from Greg and Susan telling me I was an awe for not ordering any food and forcing them to pay more than they had accounted for. I honestly laughed because the steaks alone were more than what they had paid, but to each their own, right? I also got a lot of messages from Dan saying that I could have just not came instead of pulling that stunt and getting him stuck with an outrageous bill. Edit. At this restaurant, the bar is separate so drinks are on a separate bill if that makes sense. And if anyone is concerned about leaving a tip, I live in Australia.